Welcome everyone to week number 4. At the end of this week, we will be halfway through the term. Can you believe that? This week is all about producing a rough draft for your topic that is your project. So let's take a look at what is going on. First thing that we will do is talk about what you did in week 3. So week 3 was all about finding good sources, good scientific sources. And that starts with choosing a good database, like the Shapiro Library, like Google Scholar, like PubMed. You start with good databases where you can find scientific articles, and then you have to figure out what they mean. And so we discussed the parts of a scientific article, and I stressed the importance of looking at an abstract, reading that abstract, because a lot of the time you can get all the information that you need straight out of the abstract. And that's that beginning paragraph. Sometimes it's 2 paragraphs. It's usually just 1 though. So read through that to find out if your source is what? Relevant. And so is this information going to help you at all in answering questions that you have or giving you background information? Also, are the authors credible? Is this a credible study? Look to see who funded it. That's terribly important, because is there any bias? You're trying to figure that out. Is there a reason for this author or these authors to give you the particular results that they got? So that's terribly important. So you learned about finding sources and gathering information. This week, chapter 4 is week 4 is chapter 4 in your Sumo web text. Work through your exercises. You will be deciding who your audience is that you are going to present to. Who might be interested in finding out information about this? Now, a lot of the time I have students say that they're going to present to other scientists, like a group of astrophysicists or something. I don't think I would choose that, just because, you really don't know enough about this topic to be talking to a group of people like that, right? But the general public, sure. High school students who are interested in moving into this field, a government committee, a local committee, like a county government, or an environmental group, a volunteer group. There are all kinds of audiences. Through the science that I have done in all the years that I've done science, I have been willing to go and talk to literally anybody about what I do, about any of the topics that I understand and know. Everybody from preschool groups, yes, little children smaller than the ones who go to kindergarten. We did experiments with them. They looked at bugs with magnifying glasses and stuff like that. Lots of fun. All the way, you're not going to believe this, to a nursing home. I'm not kidding. Now, the elderly lady who sat toward the back, who couldn't hear me talking, yelled out, "I can't hear a thing. I'm going back to my room." Yeah, so that was quite an event. But also colleagues of mine, people who did research in the same area that I did, medical doctors, because I worked for the hospital group for a while. Now, medical doctors are very well trained, very well educated, but did they know anything about what my particular research was? No, they didn't. So I had to figure out how to communicate with each of these groups of people. One of my favorite groups was middle school kids who would come in for Junior Scholars Day every year. I loved having them. I would make up crime scenarios for them, and we'd work through all kinds of evidence while they were there. And they were a lot better than adults. I'm not kidding. They were very good. So you've got to figure out your audience, and then you've got to figure out how to communicate with them. What's the level of communication that you have to use? What's the kind of jargon that you have to use with your audience? Okay, in chapter 4, you're going to learn about the levels of science communication. So there's everything from scientific journal articles, and that's what you were looking for last week, which is based on the actual research that's been going on in a particular field, to review articles. I'm going to come back to that in a second, to news articles and everything in between, just articles written on the internet for people to read, groups that publish things on the internet about a topic without knowing anything a lot of the time. I mean, just look up GMOs. Do a Google search on GMOs and see how many crazy organizations who will gladly take your money have opinions about GMOs. Yeah. Look at the science. That's all I got to say. So I want to mention review articles for a minute, because review articles can help you quite a bit. Usually a scientist in a particular field will write a review article about lots of different research that he or she has come in contact with about their particular area of interest. And so they write a review article going through what all the research has shown up until this point. So review articles are really awesome, and they also help you find particular articles on specific information that you're looking for. So review articles are awesome. Don't leave those out. If you need to do another search and you're not finding exactly what you need, type in your topic, climate change, review, and that will help you. Okay, so levels of science communication. Check your feedback on your questions. I'm leaving you feedback. So look at your feedback and make your corrections as we go, all along as we go. Make your corrections. I look back. If you had any points taken off, I look to see what I wrote and what you wrote, and I look to see if you fixed it. So look at your feedback and fix what you need to fix. You're going to turn in your rough draft this week. Who's your audience? You will also have a section called natural principles. So what the heck is that? So what are some big overarching science ideas, science concepts, science processes that have to do with your topic, right? So if you're doing ocean acidification, I would definitely look at something like the carbon cycle. Just look at big ideas that surround your particular topic. If you're looking at biodiversity conservation, you might want to look at interactions between species in an ecosystem, what kinds of interactions there are. So this may stump you, because of course you're taking Science 200 and you don't know a lot about science. If this stumps you, all you have to do is email me and I will be glad to give you some suggestions. I promise. And you're going to make sure and review some appropriate sources for your question. Hopefully you found these in week 3. I hope so. Remember, we talked about relevant and credible. So anyway, you're going to include those, and be sure to be very specific about what you learned from these articles. Don't just say, I learned that climate change is really happening from all 3 of my articles. No, that doesn't help. So give us some real specifics about what you learned from each of your articles, okay? And no discussion board postings for this week. The next time you'll have discussion board postings will be in week 6. All right, here is the set of guidelines for this particular rough draft, and I want to touch on some things. Notice that you have section headings. Make sure that you include the section headings. This is not an English essay. I'm just saying, everything in science is very well organized and very well laid out, and so there's never any question about what I'm reading, okay? Introduction 1. Right under that, describe your issue, right? If it's climate change, what the heck is it? If you're talking about electric vehicles, what are they? How do they run? Don't just assume that your audience understands this or knows what your topic is. So you have to explain it. Then, Why is this issue significant? You need to tell your audience why they should be interested in this. That is very important. You need to catch them right at the very beginning to tell them, I'm going to talk to you about electric vehicles. And they're going, oh no, somebody else talking about EVs. No, you need to tell them why this is significant to them. And of course, to everyone. All right, then you're going to describe at least 3 science resources. If you have more than that, that is wonderful. And like I said, be very specific in what you learned from each one of them. Based on your resources and what you've learned so far, you should have developed a specific question to ask. And hopefully you have already done that. If you need to revise that, make sure to look at the feedback so you know what to do. And then in the body, so you got introduction as the first section, body is the second section. You're going to identify your audience. We just talked about that. Who's interested in this topic? Who are you going to talk to about this? Describe how you're going to tailor your particular message, your particular presentation to this audience. Use specific examples. You can bet if you are talking to the general public that you are going to have to explain some of the jargon that's used, especially when you're talking about your specific science resources, your journal articles that you've chosen, okay? So use specific examples. You're going to identify 1 or more natural science principles. I would say at least 2, just to make sure, you got this. And like I said, if you're having any trouble with this, all you have to do is email me, because I promise I can help you with that. And explain your principles. So if I was going to do ocean acidification and I chose the carbon cycle, you're going to have to explain the carbon cycle first of all. So what is it? You have to talk about carbon dioxide being released into the atmosphere and what uses up carbon dioxide and what produces carbon dioxide and where it goes. So that's the carbon cycle. But then you're going to have to explain how that applies to your particular question, right? So that's important. So here are your guidelines for this particular week's work. And you can see that it's really a good bit of work, but this whole first part you've already done. So you may have to do some revisions and put it all together. Make sure you label all the sections. I can't emphasize that enough. Please, please, please. So that I know that you are explaining a particular part of this information that I need. Okay, your tip of the week, ask for help if you get stumped. m.sigmon@snhu.edu. All you have to do is ask. I'm here for you. All right. Been doing this a long time. I'm teaching because I love it. I teach because I want you to learn, and I'm trying to help you learn and get through the course. So that's why I'm here. All right. I hope that you have a wonderful week. Let me know if you need anything.